Then we...
Okay, a very good morning to all. I welcome you all on the last day of 1 week online training, online faculty development program on skill development for employability and entrepreneurship, presented by Training and Placement Cell of Guru Jambheshwar University of Science and Technology, Hisar, and sponsored by All India Council for Technical Education. In this session, we are going to learn more about new national education policy, which is being introduced by Government of India. National education policy is an India-centric education system that is going to contribute in transforming our nation into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society with high quality education to all in the coming time. So without any further delay, I would like to start the session by calling upon Assistant Director of Training and Placement Cell of Guru Jambheshwar University, Hisar, Dr. Aditya Veer Singh Sir, to welcome our Honorable Speaker, Colonel B. Venkat. So please.
Thank you, Rakshanda. A warm welcome to our today keynote speaker, Colonel B. Venkat Sir, who is the Director of Faculty Development Cell of AICTE. And warm welcome to our Director, Shri Pratap Singh Malik, and to dear participants. So today, this is the last day of our faculty development program, sponsored by All India Council for Technical Education. So the starting session of this is on the national education policy, which will be given by our Colonel B. Venkat, who's a Director AICTE. So Colonel B. Venkat is associated with AICTE for the many years, and he's been organizing these faculty development programs in most all over India in the universities and colleges. He's a very dynamic and young personality. So this is the first time we got a chance to have association with them. So I welcome Colonel B. Venkat Sir and to start this session of national education policy. So I request all the participants to clearly listen to this. It is very important for the future of our young generation, which is coming up ahead. Thank you. I request Colonel B. Venkat Sir to start the session.
Thank you, Aditya Veer Singh Sir. It's a pleasure being introduced. It's a pleasure also to inform that I'm being called to speak on the national education policy and as part of the various activities of a 1 week long training program, which is ongoing. It's pertinent and important that each one of us understand what is the national education policy and what are the viewpoints of the government, what is it being rolled out and how it is being going ahead. So next about half an hour to 40 minutes maximum, I will not be dragging you beyond, because the national education policy can be continued to be spoken at length, but I would be limiting myself to the main viewpoints and headlines of the national education policy. So to appreciate and understand, this was announced on 29th of July last year. So today when we are getting together and speaking, we are already 1 year and about 4 months down. To understand this, the national education policy is divided into two components. One is for the school education and one is for the higher education. Overall dynamics, irrespective of whichever it is only meant to improve and address the criticalities what we are facing today in the education fraternity. Which criticalities, how they are unfolding, how they are going to get implemented, everything will be covered up as I keep moving ahead. So if you understand that the school education earlier used to be 10+2, now has been shifted to be read as 5-3-3-4. Each one of us have heard this 5-3-3-4 concept numerous times, but what is this? Each one of these 4 brackets is something that we need to understand. The first 5 happens to be the foundational stage. That is the pre-primary and classes 1 and 2. And out here, it is now mandatory that a student will undergo education in his regional language. Each one of us understand that reading in regional languages, it has got much better understanding of a situation, and the student, if he takes on the education in regional language, would be well prepared to face the dynamics of future. Immediately connecting to the higher technical education, I would also like to bring about in the same manner that even though it is commencing from school education, but each one of them has got a direct impact on the higher education, and that too in higher technical education. In the higher technical education also, education has now been allowed to be taken in the regional languages, and towards this, AICTE has already carried out an amendment in their approval handbook. We have added a clause wherein an additional seats are permitted to take on education in regional languages. We have taken on two major initiatives. One of the initiatives happened to be for translating the original SWAYAM courses in regional languages, that is the online MOOCs courses in 12 regional languages, and the second one is original textbook writing for degree and diploma, and then their subsequent translation into the regional languages. And what is the purpose of implementing this particular thing of regional languages? Purpose happens to be very simple, to make sure that all those students who could not pursue education earlier because of lack of awareness of English or lack of the knowledge basically in the medium of instruction which was being taught, can now have a reasonable opportunity to pursue higher education, and more so higher technical education, because we are connected for the higher technical education. This also has a direct impetus or a direct relation to the overall increase in the gross enrollment ratio. Today, the gross enrollment ratio is 27.4, and National Education Policy talks about that the gross enrollment ratio needs to be taken till 50. And the gross enrollment ratio, everybody should understand, this is the number of students who are presently pursuing higher education as compared to the number of students available in that age bracket. So that is what is the difference that is being addressed to. The next three, that is 5334, the general education is given to a student. Now, what's a skill? As we understand skill when we slightly mature up and come to higher education, it is called as vocational education. So when you talk of a skill-based education and a vocational education, the National Education Policy talks about there being no difference between the learning outcomes of general education to that of the learning outcomes of the vocational education. And this can be brought at par only by means of carrying out certain bridge courses if required for students undergoing vocational education, and by introducing certain skill-based or credit-based activities, skill-oriented, which can then be given to the students pursuing the general education. Underlying statement being that there will be absolutely no difference, and hence the students who pursue general to the students who pursue vocational education, they will be at par. And this again, ladies and gentlemen, is going to have a major impetus and factor on the overall increase in the gross enrollment ratio. There's a very interesting terminology or a catchword which has been kept in the National Education Policy. It happens to be on Lok Vidya. Now, the Lok Vidya happens to be nothing but our traditional Indian knowledge or the regional knowledge. Now, these regional knowledges or the traditional knowledge over the years and the centuries are being passed over from generation to generation by the local artisans. But somewhere they have not got connected into the mainstream education. And hence, for the purposes of connecting it to mainstream education, thereby making it an activity which can then be pursued by a whole lot of students, the faculty members, the society as such, and thereby also result in increasing the GDP. This has been recommended to be introduced as a vocational subject, a credit-based vocational subject. Now, how do you introduce a credit-based vocational subject? Keep the word credit intact. I will be coming back to this word credit again after a certain period of time. Moving ahead from here, now we come to the second tree, and that second tree happens to be the middle stage or middle level, wherein the classes 6, 7, and 8 are being undergoing. Classes 6, 7, and 8, ladies and gentlemen, happens to be just about short of their final path from moving out from the school education. And in this particular classes 6, 7, and 8, in addition to what I spoke just now about the skill-based activity, which was being introduced in the previous format, in this particular forum, the skill-based activity now becomes a wholesome activity, which is then given to the student. That means we see a complete and a holistic integration of general education to that of the skill-based education. So one of the facets of the NEP 2020, which happens to be integration of vocational education to the general education, dividing general education into two, school education and higher education. So we have achieved integration of the vocational education to that of the school education at this particular forum. And this can be achieved by having a wholesome integration. One, this can be achieved by having a larger interaction between the school and larger interaction between the higher education. How to do this thing, the higher education or the tier 1 institutes towards their outreach activities, community activities will then be carrying out certain activities for integration, wherein they would be intermixing, they would be taking on board certain tier 2, tier 2, tier 3 institutes, they would be taking on certain schools, and there will be cross visits, there will be movement of faculty members and the students, and all this is being done with an intention that the students who then understand the higher education and then can rightly frame their path. So here we achieve a wholesome integration of vocational education to the school education to the higher education. This is what is another one of the very important mandates of national education policy towards giving a professional and a holistic education to a student. This word professional and holistic now takes us to the next level. And when we talk of going to the next level, we are talking to going to the last 4, that is 5, 3, 3, 4, and that happens to be classes 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Now, towards giving a professional education to the students, the national education policy speaks about not only giving a subject specific in the domain, but in addition to the domain specific, it also talks about making them rich and making them knowledgeable in various other disciplines, allied disciplines, which can be basic sciences and humanities, and at the same time making them also capable by not only talking of one domain, but by going in multiple domains. It can be a great thing to appreciate and understand that today, in addition to only one discipline, a student also needs to understand various other facets. Today, there are sports, there are yoga, there are multiple activities. Get on board these activities, get these activities into your education system as a credit-based activity, and hence what is recommended is on the lines of what even the school education has done by giving multiple number of subjects to the students to pursue. We can choose the subjects towards framing his path of education. The higher education, to say higher technical education, also has proposed for a mixture of subjects to be proposed towards education, which can be in the sense of 40, 20, 20, 20. This is just a proposed structure, with the first 40 being the core subjects, first 20 being the core electives, then 20 being the basic sciences and humanities, and the last 20 being the open electives. Now, basic sciences and humanities makes it interdisciplinary, with the last 20 open electives, which can have multiple subjects. And in case you have gone through the national education policy in the professional education chapter does talk about students to have a basic understanding of agriculture, health, and legal. If students have to have a basic understanding of agriculture, health, and legal, this can only be introduced into the mainstream education system in the credit-based courses in the open electives. We say, why only these limited number of agriculture, health, and legal, and that Lok Vidya which I spoke earlier? Why only these? Broaden the horizon, broaden the subjects which are to be included in the open electives, and thereby bringing in multiple other subjects such as Indian yoga, Indian dance, Indian music. You can also have Indian constitution, you can have universal human values, you can have the Indian knowledge system. When you bring about these multiple subjects into this thing, you at least give an opportunity to students to pick and choose, and thereby take his credits from this basket and hence be a professional and a holistic. This is what is called as a multidisciplinary based education system, which is now the talk, or now the mandated education which is going to be given to the students. Connected with this multidisciplinary education happens to be the institutes. Now, one of the biggest points as to why the national education policy came out was basically to understand the fragmented system of education that we are all living in today. When we say the fragmented system of education, this fragmented system of education implies that you have multiple institutes providing standalone education. When you have multiple institutes providing standalone institutions, the quality suffers, and then there is no interaction, no collaboration, no coordination between the institutes, within the institutes, between the departments, within the departments, and hence to have a unified structure, there are going to be multidisciplinary higher educational institutes. There will be one institute per district, and there will be minimum of 3,000 students in each and every multidisciplinary higher education institute. Now, what are these multidisciplinary higher education institutes? Multidisciplinary higher education institutes will be capable of providing this professional education, which I just spoke about. It can take place by merger of institutes. It can take place by sharing of the resources, sharing of the infrastructure, sharing of laboratories, going for virtual laboratories, a blended form of education system. There are multiple ways to go for multidisciplinary higher educational institutes, and these multidisciplinary higher education institutes will be given graded autonomy. And when we talk of graded autonomy, autonomy understands in education system as a freedom. Freedom means in academics, administration, and finance. When we are limiting our conversation, let us limit ourselves only to academics. And freedom in academics, an autonomous institute implies making own curriculum, content, syllabus, the course, revision, integration, make a credit-based activity, offer it to the students, make it a certificate, make it a diploma, PG diploma, or a degree. The way it is proposed, the autonomous institutes has a final say in the subject. That is what is called as autonomy. But remember, whenever we talk of autonomy, accountability is something which is an inbuilt. So accountability cannot be segregated from autonomy. So here the accountability is inbuilt of the institutions, because we are talking of multidisciplinary autonomous institutes. So the accountability comes in inbuilt at this point of time. But the future is now going to be multidisciplinary autonomous higher educational institutes. So very important. Another aspect to understand is that whenever you have a multidisciplinary based education system, which is now a university based model, wherein every institute is now going to be making into, there's going to be a governing structure. Our governance structure can be your board of governors, academic council, management, and the departments. It is very important. Why I am saying about this structure, it is important to appreciate and understand that national education policy has got a clause, and the clause happens to be on multiple entry and multiple exit. When a clause on multiple entry and multiple exit is existing in it, it implies all students who earlier could not pursue higher education system because of certain reasons and had to purpose drop midway and could not come back, now have an option of coming back into the education with having their credits retained intact. And these credits to be retained intact are going to be done by these board of governors and academic councils of multidisciplinary higher educational institutes. They got to be getting regulations. They got to be making provisions in place. The work for this activity is already started, ladies and gentlemen. And also another activity which is connected with this happens to be establishment of Academic Bank of Credit, ABC. And when establishment of ABC, Academic Bank of Credit, has taken place, the regulation for this particular thing, ABC, is already in place. And this is going to be the single body which would be now repository of the credits earned by a student. And this is purely for the purposes of multiple entry and multiple exit. And this particular activity is also going to be having a very direct impact on the overall increase in the gross enrollment ratio, a terminology which I used very much in the beginning of my talk only. Very nice to understand the way things have gone in the last 1.5 years. All of us have seen that suddenly speaking, the education from a face-to-face went to online system of education, and now we are coming back to a blended form of education and then to face-to-face. See the transition which has happened. But compliments to each and every teaching fraternity who rose up to the occasion and ensured that an online education was a huge success. Whichever way we see the system of education today, online education is going to be there. Online education has already been mandated. Today, AICT and UGC has a mix of 40% as an online education credits, which can be taken. These credits may vary in the times to come, but suffice to say that the online education will be there, and hence the provision wherein the online and ODL education can be taken, been mandated by AICT in technical education also. To start with, we have allowed with logistics, transport, travel, tourism. We have allowed in MCA, we have allowed in artificial intelligence and data sciences, those engineering disciplines wherein the hands-on experience is not much. So this has already commenced. This is what exactly now needs to be understood. And online education has got a direct bearing on the increase in the gross enrollment ratio because of a single reason, that the students far-flung areas who do not have access to the institutes, who do not have financial support, can now follow this education system in online and in ODL form. Connected with this also happens to be, understanding the technology which delivers this particular online and an ODL, and the technology which delivers this online and ODL happens to be in another chapter, which is a very, very important chapter called as integration of technology. Now, why the emphasis on integration of technology? The emphasis on integration of technology because the NEP also talks about establishment of NETF, National Education Technological Forum, which would then be carrying out a complete scrutiny of the e-contents, e-literature, e-tools, e-platforms, giving their recommendations and suggestions in such a manner that they overall lead to the improvement in the capacity building of the teachers. That is one. But number two happens to be much more important than this, is that every teacher or a faculty member now needs to understand the role of technology. Each one of you should be aligned to the ever-changing requirements of technology and how to incorporate this changes in the technology into your teaching and learning methodology that you would be giving to the students. Please make sure that each one of you now have an opportunity. So please utilize it, get in touch with technology and implement it into your day-to-day routine. One word as to for whose purpose this national education policy is. The national education policy complete thing happens to be for faculty members, for institutions, and for the students, and quite obviously for all other stakeholders. But the most important pointing always leads towards the students. And in case students happen to be the most important, towards whom this NEP is being directed and towards whom this professional education is meant to be provided. There is a chapter on inclusive equity and access for students. And what does this imply? This can be covered up in terminologies called as access, equality, equity. It can be covered up in autonomy, accountability, affordability, and quality. Quick run at these words for you to appreciate and understand. Access is nothing but giving an opportunity to students to everything that is possible, be it infrastructure, be it laboratory, be it even internet, and be it even a laptop, or be it even a mobile. That is called access. Equality is making sure that no students are segregated or separated, be it a caste, creed, culture, religion, financial status. Everybody will be treated alike. Equity is to understand that no two human beings are born alike. Everybody has got their unique requirements, identifying those unique requirements and working around the unique requirements to make a student a better human being. The role of teachers come here very much. Autonomy, I did speak. Accountability, I spoke at that point of time. But out here, when I'm talking accountability, it is for the teachers, not of the institutes, which I spoke at that point of time. And hence, multiple activities by AICT, first making a teachers capable and competent towards their capacity building in terms of multiple financial support, multiple quality initiatives, followed by even their assessment in form of a 360-degree feedback. So there are a whole lot of things. Request to log on to the AICT website. You will get to see multiple initiatives and the schemes of AICT, making faculty members, institutes that much more capable and competent. Then happens to be affordability. Affordability is nothing but making the structure financially viable in such a manner that the students, especially those from the SEDG category, SEDG happens to be socially, economically deprived groups, from this category of students to come forward and pursue education. Multiple initiatives, multiple schemes for the students on these lines to include even students with learning disorders as also Divyang students. A whole lot of initiatives have been done by AICT, but what are we talking of? We are also talking of a proposal or a means for even reduction in the fees primarily because of a single thing, that in case if suppose online mode of education has to be there, even 10% or 15, 20, whatever in the times to come, that much amount of commensurating fees can be reduced. And last but not the least comes is the quality. And when we talk of quality, quality in our education system can be quantified by means of accreditation, and accreditation is the norm today, with each and every institute, department getting NBA/NAAC accredited for the purposes of enabling and ensuring that we have a uniform structural education being given to each one of the students. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where exactly the students now capable and competent through the 5-3-3-4 model are going to come to you. And when they come to you for the first time, this is exactly where you are going to be interacting with the students. But mind you, the students have come through a school education, and this is not far. Do not think that it's going to happen 12 years from now. This is something which you're going to be seeing from next year onwards. The students are going to be better learned, better understandable, better aware of the technology, and hence the need for each and every faculty member also to remain current. There's a very important chapter called as motivated and energized faculty in the national education policy, with each teacher being told to take minimum 50 hours of teaching and learning every year. Now, this is where again AICT's initiatives of NITTT comes into play. This is all being done to make teachers capable. Mind you, ultimately it is going to be only the faculty members and teachers who are going to be addressing the students towards shaping their career. And ladies and gentlemen, the vision aim of national education policy happens to be making India as a global hub of education, taking it to a international platform, wherein Indian education, what we had in long back in yesteryears as Nalanda and Takshashila, can be revived. And why not? If we have by 2035 this particular issue of coming back to the global hub of education, why cannot we do it now? And for our reason to do it now, for the reasons to do it now, internationalization and global outreach then becomes that much important. There are multiple means, administrative, academic means of having this particular subject. One of the things that we recommend academically and that needs to be understood is, I spoke about open electives, about Indian dance, music, Indian yoga, universal human values. Why? There was a reason, and the reason was bring about a change in the education system, bring about an Indianness into our education system. And once we have an Indianness into our education system, not only will be able to attract the foreign students coming to our country, but we will also be able to have a limited outflow of Indian students going abroad for pursuing education, primarily because you will be giving them the feel of a revised education based on industrial and international norms and based on our Indianness in our country itself, thereby not only improving the gross enrollment ratio, but also improving the GDP. Ladies and gentlemen, I have tried to run through the various facets of the national education policy. I have tried to cover it up in a quick time, in a time of half an hour to 40 minutes, primarily with the reason that I am on the move and I'm actually speaking, stopped on the roadside and talking, but that's not the reason that why it should be finished. The reason why it should be finished in a time-bound manner is for you people to understand the national education policy now by going on to the net, downloading the NEP document. Each one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, I thought I was still continuing, so please request and mute yourself. You can have the conversations later at your own time. Give me another 5 minutes and I will not be taking much time beyond this. So what I was saying is, now it's a time for you people to go back, understand the NEP dimensions, NEP requirements, go through the policy, find yourself a place. Where do you think you are going to be fitting in? Where do you think your involvement is going to be there? Where do you think you can contribute? Please do the needful. That is exactly what it desired. It is not an individual effort. It is an effort collectively of each one of us to see India at a global hub of education by 2035. And before I say thanks a lot, I would also like to tell you the structure which is now present at a national level. At a national level, it is going to be Higher Education Commission of India, which would be mandating the complete education except the law and except the medical and legal. It would be having 4 verticals. That first one, National Higher Education Regulatory Council, carrying out the regulation. Second, Higher Education Grants Council, single body responsible for release of grants. There will be a National Research Foundation looking after the research. The third body will be the General Education Council, which will be the professional standard setting bodies, incorporating multiple councils today towards continuous revision and alteration of the curriculum to be aligned as per international and industrial needs. And last but not the least, there will be National Accreditatory Council, which will be carrying out a single body accreditation. So that is what is the overall structure, which is going to be coming out. We are already moving towards that. As today we stand 1 year and 4 months down the line, lots of activity has happened towards implementation of NEP. And I sincerely wish and I sincerely hope the best to each one of you, that due to your effective contribution at your respective workplaces, wherever you are, we will surely be at the global hub of education in the times to come. Thank you. Thanks a lot to each one of you. It was a pleasure interacting, and it was a pleasure speaking to you. And hopefully the talk has gone well. Hopefully you people have understood. Hopefully I have motivated you people enough now to go back at least and open NEP document. Thank you. Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure interacting. And with warm regards to everybody, Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us with your
This
precious
will,
knowledge.
Definitely.
How do you taken them out there?
Thank you, Colonel B. Venkat, sir.
Thank you, V. Singhvi, sir. It was always a pleasure speaking to you. I can see you are also on the move. I can very well see that you are on the move. So thank you. Thanks a lot to everybody who interacted in this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Venkatji. Thanks a lot. It was a very informative session.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to request all the students to switch on their camera for group picture.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So now the next session will start at 10:45, I think, na?
Yes, sir. 10:45.
Okay, so by that time, you people may fill the feedback form regarding the attendance of this particular session.
Sir, when will the MCQ test be conducted?
Yeah,
In
that
which
will be
session?
informed. That will be informed. That will be informed. It may be conducted in any of the 4 sessions which are being conducted today. It will be informed. Okay.
All right.
So Aditya ji, option is there for this session also in feedback form.
At the mess group, then you can start there. Just wait.
You are not audible.
Okay, so in 5 minutes you will be able to see the option, and you can go to the link which was communicated earlier also, and you can mark your attendance. At 10:45 sharp we will join again. Okay, Rakshanda?
Okay, sir.
10:45 sharp.